Creatine also pulls water into the muscle. So when it pulls water into the muscle, it allows more leverage. So it adds more volume to the muscle, which means we can lift more weights. Fantastic. But it also makes us look bigger.
Andrea is one of our bikini competitors. She lives in Australia. And we were talking about creatine. I would like for her to be on creatine on the off season. She's on a very meat-based diet. She's extremely strict and has been for a very, very long time. I was talking about, well, we are going through our prep outline and when to use creatine. And she was like, well, if I'm eating a meat-based diet that is sufficient in everything that I need, then why would I need to supplement creatine? Particularly if I'm consuming so much red meat, which has lots of creatine in it. And personally, my experience as a carnivore is I've noticed way less of a difference getting on and off, cycling on and off of creatine, compared to when I was pre-carnivore, where it used to be like, oh, I gained 2 or 3 reps every time I got off of it, and I lost those 2 or 3 reps every time I got off of it, and life sucks for like 2 weeks, and then and then you get it back into your system. So I've learned that the carnivore diet certainly has much more bioavailable creatine, or free creatine, whatever you want to call it, creatine that your body can actually use. So when she asked me that question, I don't know. I guess I had a hard time explaining to her why she should supplement creatine monohydrate, and I don't like it when somebody asks me a question that I can't answer. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Awesome. Yeah, and a valid question. 5 grams of creatine are typically found in a kilogram of beef, for example. If we are living an animal-based or carnivore-based lifestyle, then through our normal sort of day-to-day proceedings, we don't need additional creatine. When we are talking in regards to an athlete, someone who is looking to increase athletic performance, our requirement is far different to the person or the peoples that we were through our evolutionary period, for example. So if we imagine our physique as we are evolving is going to be different, we're going to be hunting maybe for days. We need to be leaner. We're running longer distances, throwing spears, and so on and so forth. But we're not lifting super heavy weights for 30 minutes to an hour each day, and we're not huge because we need to be lean. We need to be fast. So bodybuilding is very different from the physique that our bodies would have been through our natural evolutionary period. So if we're consuming animal proteins, plenty of creatine. Creatine's good for the muscle and it's good for the brain. So when we look at lifting weights, this is quite funny actually, because people who consume carb will say, well, I need carb to lift heavy. It's not the glycolytic energy system that fuels the heavy lifts. It's the PC system. It's the phosphocreatine energy system. The phosphocreatine energy system is fueled by creatine. So, and we make this in the liver naturally. But again, when we consume high amounts of animal proteins, we can increase the creatine and therefore increase the amount or the sustained amount of time that we can lift for heavy weights. So two different things. Being fit and healthy in a normal state compared to being a competitive athlete are two different things. If we are looking to increase strength and muscle mass, then there are certain compounds that we need to consume more of. It's all about these levers, all about these 1%. If we were to improve 1% each day over the process or the period of 365 days, we can improve by as much as 38 times. So I know we can't improve 1% each day, but all of these 1% add up is my point. So for lifting weights, to allow us to heal and repair, to allow us to lift these heavier weights, adding in additional creatine is going to confer a benefit, and for a number of ways. It allows us to lift more weights. Again, it supplies the compounds to the brain. Creatine is very beneficial to the brain. Creatine also pulls water into the muscle. So when it pulls water into the muscle, it allows more leverage. So it adds more volume to the muscle, which means we can lift more weights. Fantastic. But it also makes us look bigger. So if we imagine adding in creatine as a supplement, and we can add more volume, imagine taking it out then cut in for a comp, so we're absolutely tiny. We haven't lost any muscle, we just lost volume and muscle. And then imagine loading up the creatine a couple of weeks before competition. We're vacuum packed. Oh, you know, we're very lean, we're skin tight, we're tiny. And then we start a fat feed, and then we, you know, towards the end we do the glyco feed. We manipulate the salts, but we've started putting this creatine back in. Suddenly now everything does this. Now we're lumping and bumping, and now we're ripped and shredded to the max. So creatine's a tool not just for lifting heavy weights, but for aesthetic purposes in competition. So supplementing with creatine, I'm a big fan of.
So sorry, just to make sure I'm following. So you run it all the way through a show. You don't even cut it on show day.
Yeah, I cut creatine. I cut creatine during my cut. So once my building is done, during my cut, I'll drop creatine.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll take creatine out completely.
I'm about to step on stage. That's kind of where my brain's at right now. So sorry, continue.
And then I'll add creatine in a couple of weeks before, because creatine holds water in the muscle, not in the subcutaneous. And this will add more volume to the muscle. It'll pull more water in. I'll do a creatine load. I'll consume more creatine than I need to, just to saturate the muscles, and this adds more volume and size, you know, to my frame. Coming back to the original question, yes, meat contains creatine. You know, we want 5 to 10 grams for bodybuilding. Unfortunately, and there's a money spider crawling on my desk, so I'm just picking him up to get some luck. Some money's in
Get
the
that
back.
motherfucker.
He's I've just passed him on to my radiator so he can crawl over my radiator and do whatever he wants. So look, a kilogram of beef is only going to supply 5 grams of creatine. Being a female, I'm not sure she's consuming a kilogram of beef per day. I may be wrong. You know, there are women out there who do this, but it's an awful lot of animal proteins and beef. So in order to achieve that 5, you know, we might need a supplement. And the optimal amount for me, when I was experimenting, was 10. So I would consume my creatine, but I would also just add in an additional 5 grams pre-training and 5 grams post, just to make sure that I was saturated. Any excess is just expelled through the urine, and it didn't cause any. I never had any issues with the kidneys, and I ran that protocol for many years while having my kidney and livers tested regularly. So it didn't cause me any damage, but I think it's better just to predominate and make sure that the muscle cells are saturated with the creatine. So yes, we can get it from animal proteins, but is it optimal for said process, said goal? You know, and we are outside of that box, should we say, if we are performing and bodybuilding. So something outside of the norm.